I'm an American.
Come on, talk to me.
You got me in my hotel, arrested me in my hotel for doing what, sir?
Let's go.
Yo, you really got these cuffs on me heavy, bro.
I'll fix it.
Let me out.
Listen, can we talk, me and you?
No, we can't talk nothing.
Listen, I'm not the one that arrested
American.
you. Okay.
I pay my taxes. Get these shits off my fucking arms.
So we're not gonna have a conversation?
No.
Okay.
You gonna put these shits off my arms, or you be fucking fucked. What you fighting for? You got a president that don't give a shit about you, and you stuck in a police force that don't give a fuck about you. So you want to arrest white people who give a fuck, who ask for cigarettes? I came up to you trying to be nice, you stupid bitch. I came up to you asking for a cigarette, you dumb fuck. Why would I ask for a cigarette if I was racist, you stupid bitch? I was asking for a cigarette, you said no. I said word. And then you arrested me, you dumb fuck. They got cameras everywhere, you dummy. I got more millionaire lawyers than you know what to do with, you stupid bitch. I'm from it, you dummy.
Okay. Man, just look that way and let me see your cuffs.
14 Alpha 1. 14 Alpha 1.
Why am I in custody? The cuffs are too tight. Why am I in custody? What did I do, sir?
Bro, why are you drilling my feet?
Because I have rights.
I
I have rights. I'm an American.
Come on, talk to me.
You got me in my hotel, arrested me in my hotel for doing what, sir?
Let's go.
Yo, you really got these cuffs on me heavy, bro.
Let me out.
Listen, can we talk, me and you?
No, we can't talk nothing.
Listen, I'm not the one that arrested
American.
you.
I pay
Okay.
my taxes. Get these shits off my fucking arms.
So we're not gonna have a conversation?
No.
Okay.
You gonna put these shits off my arms, or you be fucking fucked. You got a president that don't give a shit about you, and you stuck in a police force that don't give a fuck about you. So you want to arrest white people who give a fuck, who ask for cigarettes? I came up to you trying to be nice, you stupid bitch. I came up to you asking for a cigarette, you dumb fuck. Why would I ask for a cigarette if I was racist, you stupid bitch? I was asking for a cigarette. You said no. I said word. And then you arrested me, you dumb fuck. They got cameras everywhere, you dummy. I got more millionaire lawyers than you know what to do with, you stupid bitch. I'm from it, you dumb. You're a fucking bitch to the end of your days, and you live that legacy. That's what you signed up for, bitch-made whore. I have my gun, I'll blow your shit up. You're a bitch, though. You got your shit, you do nothing. You said what, homie? Whore. Fucking bitch. Coward. Fuck you and your legacy. You got a kid? Hoso. Hoso so he can know what the fuck no-so is going. You're a bitch. For leaks. Not for years. A bitch for leaks. You're a pirate, bitch. Bitch. And you put your own kind in the fucking pen for nothing. You put a white man in the pen for what, you fucking bitch? For asking for a black man for a cigarette? That's your country. I pay my taxes, you dumb bitch. You about to meet my lawyer, and you made this trip for nothing. And you feel like a...
Just do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it! Some people dream of success while you're going to wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to the point where anyone else would quit, and you're not going to stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Do it! Just do it! Yes, you can! Just do it! If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
Holy shit. I'm not sure when it started. And I could play clip after clip right now. I could keep playing clips of Shia LaBeouf. You know, last 4 years for sure. That would just, it's like a descending ladder into the bowels of insanity. I mean, I'm not sure. What I'm gonna start talking about before I even bring anybody on, and hopefully we got a couple of really good people coming on that they're on pretty often, but one I haven't seen in a little while, and the guy's second to none. So till we see him, I won't say who. It'll be a big surprise for everybody, probably myself included. But it'll be some fun. But when I see this, I don't want to take away the responsibility that lies in Shia LaBeouf's hands, okay? I don't want to take that away. He has his own responsibility. We can agree on that? But he has his own responsibility, and man, he was in the Disney thing. He was a Disney. I mean, look at all of these Disney kids that have gone awry. Project Monarch Butterfly, anybody? MK Ultra, anybody? I mean, is that just a strange, weird conspiracy theory? Am I out of my fucking mind? Or is it possible that this kid was subjected to some of the things that we know Corey Feldman and Corey Haim were subjected to? You know, Corey Haim, rest his soul's gone. A lot of the reason he's gone is, of course, his own responsibility. I'm not going to take away from that, but some of the reason is, you know, he was one of them Disney kids. So I really want to know what you think about this out in the chat. Anybody that watches this later, anybody that will come and blend their mind with mine, anybody with them kind of balls, and whoever is willing to consider this. I mean, did we just see something? I didn't put them in chronological order, but we see the arrest that took place with Shia, and you know, it was so strange to see how he handled himself. And don't get me wrong, I understand that he was intoxicated, but I ask myself, was the intoxication, did it make him go into some kind of character? Sometimes, and whether or not I want to blame Disney or blame whatever, some people get so far into their craft. Hi, Matt. Hi, Mad Dodge. Hi, MC. Good to see y'all. Good to see everybody out there. If I don't notice you for a minute, it's because I'm on this diatribe. But could it be this project, you know, Monarch Butterfly or MK Ultra kind of deal going down with all these Disney kids? Or maybe is Shia just getting so far off into the weeds and into the part that he loses himself? It really, I mean, I'm not going to play it again. I just played 3 clips. Every one of those clips, when he's talking to the police officer in the back, and he kept saying, "You're going to take these shits off me. You're going to take these shits off me." He was using the vernacular of the hood, man. And let's face it, Shia Buff, he's not from the hood. Can we agree on that? No matter what he wants to be, he's a poor boy, poor sad boy. And I mean, goodness gracious, man. I don't fully blame. Hey, Zero, cool. I just seen you popped in there. I don't know what part, and I also know from sending you the show map earlier that there's some things you probably want to pipe in on, some things you don't. But I do, as deep as you are, which is pretty good, man. You don't want me to say much about that, I'm sure. You're a humble farm boy, let me put it that way. But for a humble farm boy, you have some good ideas that I've heard. Am I crazy to see that this is a breaking down from a child that does give credence to the idea of this MK Ultra, this breaking children and making them be different characters to, you know, make the silver screen look better? Or is he just a moron that drank too much fucking Grey Goose vodka? We'll get him on here one way or the other. Oh, and the Britisher shows up right then. And we'll get Zero on here one way or the other. Hey, Britt, I thought you died.
Well, it was close. I seem to be about 1 second echo at the moment.
All right, just you or everybody, because you and I are the only ones unmuted. If you got to echo, I got to change some stuff up. I got to put my headphones.
Okay, let me just say something. No, I'm not echoing anymore now. Now it seems to have solved it.
Thank goodness. And we'll. I don't know if did you see the beginning of this? I think
no. I'm kind of been all over the place today. So my preparation for this is precisely zero. I just managed to get my carcass on here.
Yeah, no worries there either, mate. I made it real easy for you, like I will every time if I can help it. And if you haven't opened up your mail, just open up your Google Mail.
I have opened up my mail and I see there are some links there or whatever, but I've not had any chance to look at them, I'm afraid.
Well, and this is going to kill you. And look, I got the crazies in, man. We're all here. It's like 3 against 1. It's going to be the Shadow Crew against the Britisher today. While we consider, I hope to consider, what the hell is going wrong with this kid? Is it just mere coincidence that Shia LaBeouf, whatever the hell the kid's name is, Shia, I'll just call him Shia. Is it just coincidence that him, Christina Aguilera to a certain extent, oh, let me think of some names. I don't follow these people much. I just see their hijinks, so their names don't set into my head like they. Lindsay Lohan was also a Disney kid. Who's the Oops, I Did It Again? Hot blonde. Britney Spears. I mean, we have this plethora of kids that came from this one section. Am I crazy to just think that this right here is maybe an example of MK Ultra gone awry?
Can I ask? Did Miley Cyrus come from Disney?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay.
Hannah
I was
Montana.
just wondering whether she might be the exception that I might be able to say, well, if she did and she wasn't from Disney, then.
No, Lord, no.
Nope.
No, she's bad. She's crazy, and you know it. And so yes, she came from Disney, and you know, listen, brother, there's a lot that didn't, but Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, all of those early movies they were in, My License to Drive, and all the Haim brothers movies were all, even though they might not have said Disney on the the marquee,
yeah,
all Disney owned organizations that were run by the same people.
Well,
by the
sorry,
way,
go ahead.
By the way, Amy Winehouse has been formed to music by a past music producer for Disney. Just saying.
Yeah, she's gone. She's dead now.
She's dead now. Yeah.
Never go to road.
Sorry, but what is the connection with Amy Winehouse and Disney?
The guy who told her how to make music, her music teacher. Like.
Also, that is the link with Disney.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a strenuous one, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a strenuous one because he was not linked to Disney anymore when he was forming her when she was young, but he was a past Disney employee. Just saying. Just saying.
No, and sometimes the strenuous ones, Britisher, here's the thing. I'll say this. If you're studying any ancient culture, to take one example that you only see one, and to build what their ideals may have been from this one example. I mean, nothing's really coming to my head. Let's just say that you think that they all drank beer and were drunkards because you read in this one section that there was, or wine or whatever, because you read in this one section that this thing happened and wine was involved. When if you actually looked into the culture thereof, they didn't. That was, abhorrent. That's not something that they did. This isn't that case. When someone, even if they have, I mean, if it comes down to someone that got them into the business, as in he's mentioned Amy Winehouse, and I don't know the dude, I don't know much about Amy Winehouse, but if I hear anything to do with them people, Britt, switches start going, because daggone it, man, you can, no matter how ambiguous it may be, if it happens all the time, if there's always someone that links it back to this.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is, if you basically take the kids who basically grew up to be stars and therefore have pretty much their entire life only known success and everything go their way and known adulation.
Yeah.
You can see how that could screw people up, whether it had anything to do with Disney or not.
Yeah, we have in French culture, we have some few examples of guys like Shia LaBeouf and Britney Spears, and they were not linked together in terms of who were taking charge of them. but there was indeed a repeated pattern of once they vanish out of fame for just a while, and sometimes it's not even that they don't have jobs anymore. It's just that they have a succession of projects that just don't go too well, and people are mocking them and basically making fun of them, but basically making fun not so much of them but of the projects that they have accepted to go to. And so they're like, come on guys, you knew there was something fishy there. And for example, Vanessa Paradis, the ex-girlfriend of Johnny Depp, she was that way in France. Like for a while she had to put herself back in question, but she's the only one kid star that didn't turn bad. And she didn't turn bad because she was surrounded by people who actually knew to tell her, hey, you just had just some few bad projects. Don't worry, you're gonna bounce back.
So it's fame itself. Is that what you and the British are saying right now? Is that I'm nuts to think that it could be, even if
it's not fame. It's not fame itself. I think that they've not been surrounded by people that told them you're gonna have a shitter, you're gonna have a stinker coming in your career, no matter how great you are. Well, no matter how great you are and no matter how good you are, you're going to have some few stinkers. You need to learn how to take a blow.
Well, perhaps it's not just that. Perhaps it is the fact that perhaps there is a connection with the company, insofar that the company raises these people to be famous, but does nothing to kind of educate them into kind of realizing, look, this is not reality. So there is no sort of handbrake attached whereby they can kind of still stay somehow grounded. And therefore, obviously, with all this adulation, with all this money, with all this fame, eventually comes a sense of entitlement. And effectively, perhaps if they are a company whose business it is to make some kids famous, it may also, perhaps not in terms of legal responsibility, but they may have a moral responsibility to kind of
Busby Berkeley. It's like the new form. In other words, because there was a big thing surrounding Busby Berkeley, if anybody knows who he is. But he did a lot of, I think he was involved with Shirley Temple. But there was a big cloud around him. So they educate them, but not to the point to show them the real world. I dig that, Britt. But when I say, are you just avoiding what I'm asking, or maybe you didn't hear it all? Do you know what MK Ultra is? Do you understand? Do you know? Have you heard about the conspiracy idea? Whatever you want to call it. I mean,
my God, the ogre is on a conspiracy theory again. I am surprised. No, I have not heard of MK Ultra.
Neither do I. Educate us.
Well, it's the idea that they're, in fact, some of the stuff is in the public domain now, so we can read their papers. But the United States government, through different agencies, mostly the CIA, would take people and would break them psychologically using sex, rape in different forms, and drugs in different forms. Sometimes a combination of the two, terror, isolation chambers, sensory deprivation chambers, the like. To put people into a suggestive state to the point to where, man, they're not acting anymore, and it's used for these different things. Right now, I'm having a brain seizure, but there was a dude.
So basically, what you are suggesting is that these kids would have had these treatments used upon them.
Maybe to a lesser degree, because just like when you think that jet planes and different things for the public sector are made by people that also make rocket engines for, these things could be being tested out.
Yes, but
in the public domain, British, it would be considered the Monarch Butterfly Project. Yes,
but in that regard, I would be quite dismissive of that idea, because I would say, if you would test things like that, you would try and do it as inconspicuously as possible.
Possibly
You
imaginable, yeah.
you wouldn't try and build some of the most famous people and
Well, that's not-
experiment on
Yeah,
them.
That's
but
not true.
on
John,
the other
hang on
hand,
one second. If we can just slow down, just 1 second, John. I would just to say this, and then say what you got to, Jeremy. But when we talk about Project Mockingbird, you know, we're looking at I could throw out 20 names if I really racked my brain hard. But there's all kinds of people in the media right now that work with the CIA, get a paycheck from them. It's out in the open. It's out in the open now about MK Ultra, and we do know that Project Monarch is a thing. I mean, it is a thing. I would like to know to what extent it goes, but it is a thing. And why wouldn't they use it if you have something like Project Mockingbird, which is the CIA using mainstream media in order to project a message, you know, reminiscent of Goebbels. Well, that is, I mean, it's not arguable. But go ahead, Jeremy. I'll go on off all the time because it is. Here's one thing: I'm not sure that, with all respect, that anyone here.
To close down what Ogre says, people, when your secret services are declassifying documents, go read them.
Yeah, right.
Go-
Because y'all care what the CIA is doing. This is all American shit for sure.
No, but seriously, when your secret services are declassifying some of their documents, go read them. They made it public. You know, like they decided to make it public. Go read it.
Yes, but that would require the media to take that rather than whatever is the flavor of the day, because you cannot really expect any other people other than journalists to kind of sit down and look through declassified documents, be paid for that, and then digest for the people what of interest is in there. So in that regard, it falls to the media to do that.
I read like Vault 7, Britt. I mean, I tried to even read it online. If you remember, I did Vault 7, like 1, 2, and 3, I think, but nobody watched that shit. Nobody really cares. And so, even if I read it and try to just read it out loud to people, they don't want to hear it. But, you know, if we think about 9/11, and they said they would never think of using airplanes, Project Northwoods, 1967, 1968, same deal, man. They said they would never do that, right? Just recently. But if you look back in their documents, they were planning on using airplanes to do havoc in the United States. Anyways, I'm a conspiracy buff at heart, gentlemen. There, you know, that's what it is.
There is always some fun in the conspiracy theory, but it needs to remain fun. But on the other hand, please, for the love of hell, when a journalist is summarizing up declassified documentation from your secret services, you should pay attention, people. You should pay attention, because sometimes what you're learning is horrifying. Anyways,
especially when it's the French secret services. Declaring war on Greenpeace.
Well, Zero left because I had him in here for a specific reason. I'm not sure if he was having problems. I never heard a word from him. But you know what? Instead of going off into a long tangent about what it could be, because for me, the discussion that we're having could last for 3 days, because I do think that there's something going on, and I do think it's that public. I'm just not sure if Shia.
Well, but can you just give me one reason why they would do it with some people in broad daylight and the most public forum possible, rather than with just, say, half a dozen disappeared children somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest of America?
They've done it both ways. I think they continue to do it both ways. But
but what would the benefit be of doing it this way?
Right, but because they do it both ways, I mean, they do it both ways. The idea behind doing it this way is the same reason why you see all the butterflies everywhere, the monarch butterflies. You look at the Hunger Games trilogy, Effie, you know, their groomer from the Capitol. She several times says, one time she's wearing a suit that's all orange and she's got butterflies everywhere. She even had butterflies on her eyes, monarch butterflies. When you see this Menage Trois girl, the black girl, the Menage, what the fuck's Menage? there's so many times where they show you this innocent person. It happened with oh Lord, I'm so bad with these hip hop names and whatnot, and those are the ones that you mostly see it with. But the Beyonce, she did it through a car fire. But a lot of times, oh, what's the one girl, man? She's so Mariah Carey. She did the same thing that Nicki Minaj did when she went through this and said, yes, I've came through the one side and now I'm going to show you a different side. She even had an alter ego Nicki Minaj did, where it was like a little boy, an evil demonic little boy. No shit. You can look into this. And then they show this symbolism. And then you know that this exists because they talk about the monarch butterfly. Here it is, Britt. Instead of me going on and trying to show how much I know about it, I'm telling you, it'd take me 3 days to unpack just the ideas that surround the Monarch Butterfly Project and MK Ultra. But a good magician, a good magician, Brett, a real good one, not one that does shit with lions and tigers on stage. I mean, a magician that can be this far away from you, Britisher, and you don't know how it happened. You don't know how the card went from blue to whatever, and you don't, those are the best, and they're showing you the trick right there. Boom.
Okay,
but a lot of people don't see it.
Okay, again, you mentioned the monarch butterfly there. So, I mean, first, I've not heard of that. But if the monarch butterfly would be some kind of symbol to them, why would they be showing it to you? Why would they?
Told you, bro.
Well, no, but what I mean is, what would the purpose be of basically? This is secret, but we're going to wave it in their face.
Britisher, if there was a conspiracy going on, but there was somebody involved in the conspiracy that was really important and believed in some things or needed it, would there be this? I'm going to be careful, but you understand what I'm saying. Would there be cohorts that would agree to a ritual of some sort just because some people needed the ritual and it wouldn't really matter to them? I mean, they wouldn't necessarily want it to be known why they were doing it. You look at the connection. That's all I'll say about that. But you look at the connections, Britisher, and whoever that's listening, they are showing you what they're doing. Look at Darren Brown. Do you know who he is?
I know of Darren Brown, yes.
Yeah, take a good look, Britisher. Look at his older stuff. Look at him exposing this stuff and showing you that this is what they're doing, mate.
Well, I seem to be missing something here because it just, I don't know, it just doesn't chime with me at all.
Well, if you have someone that you can control, okay, and the whole monarch butterfly idea is that it comes from a larvae to the cocoon to the butterfly. It changes in this beautiful thing, and for them, it's usually Miley Cyrus going from Miley Cyrus to whatever the hell they call her now. Anyway, what was her name before? Hannah Montana. It's usually like a Hannah Montana, which to me is the beautiful butterfly, going to this, whatever it may be, to lead society in one way or the other. I don't know what to say, Britisher, other than there is something going on when in every society we can think of all the way back to Babylon, when they were doing their best, they were doing really good, something came in and brung, it was never, very rarely was it another power, military power. And if it was because they were already weakened by this. Something came in and turned them to a decadent state, man. That's all I'm going to say. That's how I'm done.
Anyways, what I personally take out of what's happening to Shia LaBeouf is that it doesn't take much to break down somebody psychologically. That's the problem. Is that humans, all of us are so easily manipulatable. It's you need to learn. You need to learn mental self-defense. Like when you see what's happening to some of our celebrities, sometimes it doesn't take much for them to break down. Sometimes it doesn't really take much for them to break down. So
are they not in an extremely vulnerable position?
That's the thing, is that people don't perceive that because they see them being wealthy and they don't see it.
Yes. But what I mean is these people put themselves out there.
Out there. Yeah.
You know, so basically, people, I mean, the Anita Sarkeesians of this world complain about getting hate. But I think unless you are really unless you're a proper celebrity, you more than likely have no idea of just how devastating some of that hate can be.
Yeah,
and how
also
all-encompassing it can be, and ever present, and there is envy, and you can't really trust a single person because are they just saying this because you're a celebrity, or do you understand what I mean? So
yeah, I know, I know what you mean.
They live very strange, extraordinary lives. But as much as these lives provide them with, I hate this word given its use in the
so
social justice world, but it provides them with privilege.
Yes.
But at the same time, it also renders them very vulnerable.
Because privilege is given to you, granted that you assume the responsibilities that goes with it. That's why we invented in the medieval time the ideas of titles. Heck, that's even why we invented the ideas of some responsibilities will befall on you on the premises of the title, and some responsibilities will befall on you on the premises of your function within society.
Well, and something just came my way that I just have to speak to for just a second. I never mentioned lizard people. In fact, the only things that I've even alluded to are, well, I didn't. I think, whatever. But I didn't mention any lizard. The only things I've alluded to are things that the CIA, the FBI, the NSA
have
declassified. They have declassified, and I've read these things. So if I sound crazy to you, human being that sent me this DM, well, go read the information. Take your head out of the sand. I could be wrong.
Comes from the CIA.
Pardon me, sir?
The monarch butterfly reference comes from the CIA.
No, MK Ultra comes from the CIA. The monarch, that's something. The monarch, and you know what? That is a fraction. No, I'm sorry. That does come from the CIA. I'd have to pull this stuff up. This is all going from memory, but I know this part is fairly accurate. The monarch butterfly compartment is under MK Ultra, and in that program. And anybody that thinks they didn't do that stuff, man, my uncle, I'm looking at his picture right now, he's in Vietnam. He knows they would give psychotropic drugs to soldiers and see how they performed, especially when they knew they would be out on patrol and likely, come across hostile Viet Cong. They would pump them up with basically LSD, MDMA, combinations of said, things like mescaline. And just to see how how they would fight if they would disregard the bullets more. But anyway, it all comes from MK Ultra and then splinters out. But why are they latch onto that? I believe it's a thing. And look, now Zero's here, so I want to move on because here's the fact. I don't want to seem crazy, Zero, and I've got to get to this thing. I had Zero Cool on today specifically for a reason. When he left, I was kind of paranoid there for a second, brother, because I want to go on into the BLM craziness with this purple, whatever, the blue vest thing. I really want to talk about that when we have Zero Cool on the hook. So if you want to think I'm crazy, Zero, Britisher, Jeremy, that's fine, because the fact of the matter is I'm fucking crazy.
I think you're crazy.
Oh yeah, that's
but everybody's crazy, so it's fine. Don't worry.
I keep threatening it, but this is why I don't do it outright. I keep threatening an all-out conspiracy stream, and everybody's like, well, you've had a conspiracy stream here, thus and such. No, I'm at pick out a topic and stick with it and go line by line. But I mean, good Lord, that is so polar that if I think that something weird may have happened by the Twin Towers coming down, when it takes a temperature higher than whatever, there he goes again. I'm done with it. It's shit. See what I mean? He's toying with me right now. So I'm crazy. We've established that. And we can really haul ass. It is what it is. I may do one day, I may not. So Zero Cool.
Oh, is this on? Because I was having problems with my mic.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Okay, no, I had to bump out for a minute because whatever, machines. I'm gonna say machines. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say about Shia LaBeouf now that all the fun stuff is over. I could vehemently disagree about the whole Disney connection, but let's look at it this way, people. he behaved like an idiot. A lot of people have behaved like an idiot since our country has spoken and we have Donald Trump as a president. Honestly, he's suffering. He's a person who's suffering from too much excess. It does happen, and you know, when he screwed up with the police, he basically sobered up, apologized. People, no matter what your financial level is, do that stupid shit, and he will grow up. That's the end of the story. If he doesn't, well, that's on him. That's all I got to say about that.
That's on him, and he's gone. That's on him, and the rehabilitation centers that's going to take care of him. Just
yeah, and you know he does have the money, Jeremy, to pay for his own rehab, like Benny
yeah.
Ford, so that's a good thing. We don't have to worry about that. So now are we going to move on to the Black Lives Movement kind of thing, because that's, you know, as a movie
Oh my
person, this
God,
is
where do I even?
Zero, whenever you're ready, just crack on. You can just open this up.
Okay.
Oh my God,
Okay,
where
so
do I even
here we
start with
go.
this one?
We go. I'm going to screen share something if I can. And
Okay.
I need, and if it doesn't need to be said about this conversation, so hopefully I can do this right and we can all get it done. So, what if you guys can see this? Hopefully, you can see what I'm seeing, which says "Bad Ape, Planet of the Apes" and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the deal. This idiot, McKesson or whatever his name is. I found this through Mundane Matt, and normally I'm not a Mundane Matt follower, but he made a very good, valid point on this. So for those of you who didn't grow up with the Planet of the Apes like I did on TBS and film reboots, these last three movies that came out starting in 2011 have been a soft reboot of the Planet of the Apes movies, and they're very well done. So what they're doing this time is they're basically focusing on Caesar, who if you don't know who Caesar is, you should know who Caesar is. He's the main character.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, as I'm about to read in the trivia, what director Matthew Reeves has explained in Rise and Dawn of the Planet of the apes don't wear clothing, but at the end of the future ape society seen in the original Planet of the Apes movies, they do wear clothing, and Bad Ape, who is actually a very good ape, it's just humans were derogatory and called him a bad ape for not behaving and all this other stuff. You guys can look up the character for Bad Ape. He's actually a good guy. He's the first person to wear clothing because that's hinting that the society of Planet of the Apes is coming to pass, which means he's having to survive the harsh winter, and he's wearing winter coats that he's scavenged. That's all there is to it. They're continuing the build-up to what would be the Charlton Heston Taylor going to the Planet of the Apes, because Nova is in this movie as a kid, and this isn't connecting to those old movies. This is just continuing it in an actual chronological timeline without a lot of the flashback stuff from the original series. So there is nothing racial about this. And this McKesson kid, you're an idiot, McKesson. If you ever want to challenge me on this, bring it. You can find me on Twitter. TheZeroCool85, Dade Murphy, bring it, chumps. I'll bring it to you. You don't roll with a movie file like me.
So basically, if you do, be ready for 250 notifications. So
yeah.
You're zooming on me. I'm gonna stop resuming there, Zero.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, what it is it's a natural progression of the movie series. You find out why they've become the dominant species over humans. You find why the humans have been basically weeded out because of a virus. You are starting to see Nova come in. You may have Taylor coming in the future, having already been launched, pre the 2011 James Franco movie. But this character, Bad Ape, is the first character to wear clothing in what is known as a caste system, which was religious, military, and political from the original Planet of the Apes. Not so much racial, because if anybody knows anything about those, they had the orangutans were I believe the scientists.
Yep.
And the gorillas were the military, and the chimpanzees were pretty much political and other offices.
So you've read some of the literature, Zero?
I grew up with all the movies and all the books because my uncle, rest his soul, was born in '63, and he had all those on everything. Yeah, thank you. So Pierre Boulet, the original
Yeah.
author of the book, gave some
Yeah.
counseling on the original movies. Just
Yeah.
so everything that's coming to pass in these movies is basically filling in some of the gaps that were in the original Heston movies. So for all the people out there that want to claim that there's any hint of racism in this, bite me. Go watch the original movies, do your damn studies, listen to what the director Reeves says about Bad Ape wearing the first clothing, because this is a massive foreshadowing on what's to come, which was
even one
already
of three of
in the
the
original.
astronauts in the original was a black guy. He gets shot in the back of the head, man, the neck, and has to
Well,
go over there. and say,
I'm not gonna.
There's no racism in that, or in the portrayal of the humans or orangutans.
Well,
and whatever.
technically, if you want to go that route, that's racism right there, because you have humans versus apes, orangutans, and anybody of that species. That's genuine racism. You have the hatred and mistrust and misunderstanding between a human and a primate. That would be considered racism, especially since they are a new evolved form of race and species on our planet in this movie series. That's racism. People get all this shit wrong.
What did you say, Britisher?
Wouldn't it be speciesism as opposed to racism?
Yeah, very much so, but I think the
We are
common
the
man
human
doesn't
race,
understand
though.
the difference.
We are the human
but,
race.
but-
That's a good
but-
point.
apes are not humans.
If it came down
Yeah.
to one specific animal killing everyone in the race of human, I mean, it would be, we would all, it wouldn't matter if you were from Papua New Guinea or from Iowa or from daggone merry old England. We would all be like against the whatever it may be if they actually got smart enough to start to attack us as a race.
Yeah.
So,
So
it would be real
I
racism in
I
a way.
agree with the
That's funny.
Britisher. It is more of a speciesist issue as opposed to a racist issue, but the average common man doesn't know 99% of these terms. You say xenophobia to somebody, they don't have a freaking clue what you're talking about. So for layman's terms, I'm just saying,
different culture.
well, yeah, fear of, yeah, basically.
Xenophobia.
They don't know this.
Oh.
So, and if you wanted to really further the argument, which I'm not going to, X-Men, let's say X-Men and humans, mutants and humans, they're not different races, they're different species. Because mutants are technically the advanced evolution of what humans are. So that's a different species unto itself. Now, a race, if you really want to look at a good form of racism, go to Star Trek. You look at the Terrans, which are Captain Kirk and those guys. You have the Klingons. You have the Vulcans and Romulans. When they all have a problem with each other, that's a true form of racism, because they're all different races and they're all from different planets. But I digress. So this McKesson kid, dude, shut your pie hole. You don't know shit about Planet of the Apes. Quit being a race-baiting, bait-clicking dipshit.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, if I can just prod you a little bit, and it might get everybody else involved in this a tiny bit more.
Did you ever work for the diplomatic service, Zero?
I don't think so.
No, actually, Britisher, I've been told I have very low tactile skills in general.
He's not here to be diplomatic, Britisher. He's the one guy.
No,
that
I don't have tact on a lot of things, to be honest, Ogre. And I'm pretty much an alpha male when it comes to work. I don't, I'm a lone wolf, or I lead the project if the person who's supposed to be leading the project
Alpha
keeps
male or not, you
fucking
just
around.
don't
I ain't
give
got
a
time
fuck.
for this shit. Well,
Yeah,
there is a
alpha
time
male,
to
not, you
give.
just
Yeah,
don't give
there is a time to not give a shit, and there is the time to give a shit. But when somebody doesn't do the research and just basically says, "Oh, he's wearing a blue vest," it's racist. I'm like, you apparently have no clue about what a caste system is, let alone what the Planet of the Apes franchise.
What actually is the allegation? I mean, why would wearing
The
a blue
allegation
vest-
was that because one of the
why would wearing a blue vest be racist?
One of the visuals that have been released showed one of the apes in a blue vest that is looking similar to the blue vest of one BLM activist. And the BLM activist in question said that this was basically him.
Don't ask me his name.
Him as a
That's the McKesson jackass.
Yeah,
But what I mean is, wouldn't they effectively had they had him in a? I mean, given how many BLM activists there are, If
Yeah,
they
it's a
would have
well-known one.
green
It's a well-known
tunic,
one.
there would have been some BLM activists who at some point wore a green tunic, wouldn't there? So this is just, they had to put him in some piece of clothing.
Well, and also British. Here's the kicker, Brett, is that this guy just, in other words, somebody's seen this poster with this monkey that is kind of skinny, and if you juxtapose this man and this monkey, okay, they have similar, they cast a similar silhouette. You know what I mean?
Similar clothing.
And then they put him in this thing. Now, if you look back, they've used these blue vests for a long time, since 1968 in this franchise. But someone noticed that in their mind, Britisher, not my mind. They drew my attention to it, and I just said, yes, the silhouettes look similar.
Yeah, they read way too much into this shit.
Yeah, they read way too much. There you go. That's it. That's simply said.
They read way too much into this shit. And even Whoopi Goldberg said, dude, it's to pay homage to the blue vest of the originals. It's to basically tell you, hey, you love that character in the original, he's gonna be back.
That's the first time I've agreed with Whoopi Goldberg in like 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've agreed with her ever.
Hey, Zero, who was the dude she was married to? They came out in like
Ted Danson.
Yeah, Ted Danson. Remember when they came out like painted up?
I
like,
try not to.
Yeah, but you got to. What happened to that Whoopi? That's all I'm saying, man. She went off the rails.
Yeah,
but on the other hand,
again, that can relate back to what happened to Shia. People have gone off. They've got. When people get a certain amount of money and power or influence, they think they're immutable from fact and truth, and they think they're untouchable. But like I said to somebody else, death comes for us all. Nobody is immune. Your notoriety or your popularity don't mean shit.
Nope, don't last forever, does it?
Yeah,
well, anyway, I'm probably being, melodramatic in my thought right now, and nostalgic, because I remember the old days, and Whoopi was something different. But the stand-up that Jeremy just mentioned.
You got to give her credit to one thing, though, is that she's always been a science fiction buff. She's always been supportive of any science fiction project that wanted her. And she does her reading, and it's just like, dude, seriously.
Yes.
Like, the Planet of the Apes is a classic of science fiction. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be a ginormous idiot.
Yes. And you can disagree with Whoopi Goldberg personally or from the viewer.
On millions of levels.
I will bust out. I will defend her in regards to science fiction any day, and I will fucking put in Burglar, Ghost, or any other old movie she's been in, because whether you like it or not, she's not a bad actress. That's what people don't differentiate between people and celebrities these days. Their acting ability and their personal life. Again, which relates back to Shia LaBeouf having his issues, but I digress.
Well, how do you feel about his acting skills? I mean, when you look back
I think Transformers sucks because I'm a kid from the 80s and I grew up with it, but I've seen Shia LaBeouf. I liked him in Indiana Jones.
The first one sucked?
They all suck.
I disagree. The first one was great.
You and I can disagree all you want. All I'm going to say is, wow, they couldn't make him look good like Iron Man does. Yeah.
Pardon me, sir?
I said, yeah, that's how they're going to make them look. Go ahead and look back at Iron Man. Look how awesome he looked. They came out roughly the same age, and these trucks transforming into robots, they look like that. They look like shit.
Okay, well, you're saying on a visual. I thought the story was good. I'm not much into is the CGI great or not.
But I'm also not I also have very low tolerance for Michael Bay, but that's just me.
Too overproduced, or what about Mike? And look,
He's the one directing.
I would have bet if somebody would have bet me 50 quid if Zero liked the first Transformers, I'd have been like, yeah, he probably liked that first one. But so it was the visuals that you didn't dig. You didn't like the way it came together, or you just are a Michael Bay hater, period.
Michael Bay and Zack Snyder are on my hit list. So thank Christ that Patty Jenkins directed Wonder Woman. End of fucking story.
All right, we ain't gonna pound it in. You got me wondering about what you didn't like the visuals about the first. Did you mind the story? I mean, they even had John.
The story was weak.
There was a story in Transformers.
Yeah, exactly. The first 4 episodes of the original cartoon series had more story.
That's why.
But anyway, let's get back to topic here. People need to differentiate.
Let's get away from Transformers.
No, I'm just saying people need to differentiate between the actors and actresses and their personal lives.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. I personally, I think Shia LaBeouf's done some good work.
Until I just squirted a little bit of something out of my nostril. So that's fine. Let's get the hell away from it.
Yeah, I think Shia LaBeouf is a decent actor when he wants to be. He's not untalented, but he's overrated on a certain scale. But that goes with anybody. That's why we have variety. That's why we have flavor. Britisher, Ogre, and Jeremy may like something I don't, and I may like something they don't. That's life. Don't be so fucking anal about it. Well, comic books hate you too.
Comic books. Well, that's the first time I've ever heard that from you, sir. I've got to reconsider our relationship.
Comic books.
Jeremy
American
knows
comics.
that I'm being somewhat, how shall we say? I'm taking liberties. I'm taking artistic license here.
What about pulp fiction? Did you like pulp novels, pulp books? Like.
Oh yeah. I like my fair share of paperback novels.
Have you ever read anything?
When it comes to comic books, I like things French or Belgian. But when it comes to American, please spare me.
Fries and waffles. Sorry.
So, have you ever read any book by John D. McDonald, Britisher?
No.
Well, we got to talk later.
It's preferably around a good beer and a good barbecue.
This coming from the gentleman who has not read P.G. Wodehouse.
Yeah, well, I'm looking into that,
or Ephraim Kishon.
That's the one that did the westerns.
No, that's Karl May.
Yeah, Carl. That's of all the things you've thrown at me. You want me to start throwing shit at you? How about Mary Metalius?
Nope.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can do the same thing to you. It's just it also has a lot to do with regional tastes. How about Madeline L'Engle, A Wind in the Door, or A Swiftly Tilting Planet? Maybe Zero has read one of those books. Oh wow, talk about off topic. Have you ever heard of Madeline L'Engle though? Zero.
No, I'm American. What the hell?
No, she's American. A Wind in the Door, A Swiftly Tilting
Planet.
No,
I was not a novel reader. I didn't grow up reading novels.
Well, okay, and I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to. That was already off.
That one's out of my realm of expertise. Sorry, guys.
The important thing about all that craziness is, as long as you read something, man, read something for goodness sake. I've been hung up on audiobooks. Got my iPod right here, and inside of it there are, I don't know, a shitload. If I started playing and put it on a loop from one to the last, it would probably play for, I don't know, 6 months straight, no breaks, 24 hours a day. There's a lot of stuff on there, but I've gotten lazy because of this device. I really have. That was my weird segue. Wait till you discover Audible and having some novels being read to you in your ear pussies by Stephen F. and Fry.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, just you saying Audible, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Well, audible.com's good.
I'm going to jump in here for a quick second, Ogre. I'm still a little bitch. I have Frank Muller reading Anne Rice, the book on tape, sitting in my book room. Best. And I love, and I just got to find a way to get it over to my computer, but I love him reading The Vampire Lestat.
I've read that book. Have you ever read The Mummy by Anne Rice?
No, I've actually only read The Vampire Chronicles, the first 5 books.
Oh, those are all good. Interview.
So again, I'm not a novel reader. I'm more of a comic book reader. But when something piques my interest, I go full potato and I delve into it.
The Mummy or Ramses the Damned is the title.
Ramses the Damned was pretty good.
Well, that's the same book. It's The Mummy.
Oh, it's the same book. Okay, I must have not read it under The Mummy then, because it always said Ramses the Damned.
It said the title was The Mummy or Ramses the Damned by Anne Rice. It's the same book.
Maybe I did read that. Okay, maybe I just didn't notice that. I've always noticed the word Ramses because it was in big bold print on my edition.
Man, I love literature.
Wow, shit. I guess I did read that.
If it's and Frank Muller, he got messed up in a motorcycle accident. Frank Muller, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I ever would have read or listened or even been interested in the Gunslinger series by Stephen King at all. but he does quite a few, man. In fact, today while I was doing my stuff out in the garden and whatnot, I was listening to different seasons. I was listening to The Body. You know, the one
Now, doesn't that have the Shawshank Redemption or something in it?
Yep, Shawshank Redemption,
Yes.
The Body, Apt Pupil, and also
Oh, yeah.
it's called The Breathing Method, which is a really short one, about an hour long on the listen. If I read it, it'd take me about a half hour to read it. I've read it. But anyway, and Frank Muller, he is unreal. Yeah, Jeremy ain't been here in a while, and we're just talking about Americans and Americana.
Speaking of audiobook, I don't remember if it's on Audible or if it's on the French one that I am using service, but hearing Kirsten Vagness reading Exquisite Corpse is a weird experience. That's something. Oh, it's a novel that is called the Exquisite Corpse, written by Poppy Zebright, and Kirsten Vagness has made an audio recording of that book, and it's on sale either on Audible or on the one that I'm using in France. It is sadly only available in France. I don't remember which one of the
And
two.
look what I'm doing, Britisher. I take the time to actually research stories and to look through shit and to give everybody an outline. And then as the host,
then we derail.
I'm derelict in my fucking duties. No, it's not just, it's me mostly. Because in the end, this is a cool hangout for me. But I do want folks that come and listen to, I don't know, what I'm trying to say is, did you all see what I sent you? And if you did, I kind of wanted to talk, because healthcare, I mean, who gives a shit, man? Can I say that about that? Because as much as I looked into it and I did put it on the list, I really don't give a fuck to talk about that right now. I really don't care.
I've had all I'm going to ever say on that. Scrap fucking Obamacare. Go back to what we had before. End of fucking story.
There you go. Yeah.
Get over it. I'm done. I'm ill qualified on that. I don't care about it anymore.
Yeah, well, he said I agree.
I have worked in healthcare. It's always a mess. It's always a problem. And the sad thing is that unless you will really literally have political agreement all across the pond on disciplining both doctors and insurance companies, until you are ready to bully everyone into submission, which none of your politicians are ready to do, then it's not going to happen, and it's always going to be a mess. That's all I'm going to say. Is that if you want it to be correctly ordered and correctly put together, everybody needs to be ready and prepared to bully all of the other parties involved into submission. Like making sure that it works for everybody, that it is a win-win situation for everyone.
What? I just don't believe in the nanny idea. You know, we got to get Sophane on again, Britisher, because even if I don't, I've been DMing him, because you remember what he said about the horizontal, and the vertical. The vertical, have you ever heard that?
Of course, yes.
Okay, well, I hadn't heard it put quite that way. So, I've been looking, and I'm not looking yet, but now I need to look into it, because he's the first one I ever heard give the consideration of not just a right and a left, but also this up and down.
Well, it is one of those things that is very, very oft forgotten. The fact that the authoritarian versus libertarian side very rarely gets a word in politics, because it's always just right against left. And it basically allows either party, whichever one wins, to be as authoritarian as they want to be, because it never crops up as a political consideration anywhere. And that's the main problem. And whereas in America, at least, there is the Constitution, with many other countries, I mean, most of all Britain, because it doesn't really have a written constitution. Yes, one just basically rides roughshod over it. In that regard, very much the same has been happening all across Europe, because there is much less vigilance in regards to that vertical line. Everybody is always just quarreling about left and right.
I think the vertical lines, to me, that's the most important, because man, listen, Jeremy, when you say have legislators make it equal, it always comes to mind this idea of two men riding through a cornfield, and the young communist asked the old communist, "Could you please explain communism to me?" And without a word, he just pulled his rapier out of his cane, and he begun to cut the tassel off of every corn stalk that was any higher than any other one, to force them to be equal. So it's that side of the line. That's the one that bums me out the most.
Well, yes.
The problem is that the problem is that for communism aside and the word communism aside, if you want equality, you don't want to cut down what sticks out. You want to make sure that everything that sticks out is that anything that it does not stick out reach the same level that the things that sticks out.
You want to make sure of that, so that means equality of outcome.
Yeah.
Oh, you like the idea of equality of outcome?
I want equality. I want both, actually. I want equality of opportunity and possibility of outcome.
Well, that's but then you're absolutely a capitalist. In fact, if you like that, you're an anarcho-capitalist. Welcome, brother, to the club.
Well, all I would say is that sometimes for some things it requires authority, and we have to kind of realize that for certain things in society we accept authority, and largely it just depends on what those authorities kind of are and whether we in our individual societies are used to it or not. So, for example, in the United States of America and everywhere else really in the Western world, we are quite happy with police forces. Try that in Afghanistan, because people have not subscribed to that idea. But over here, we would basically say that having a police force is a very basic form of authority that is required in order for the society to function properly.
No, a sheriff's office, but I'm absolutely against a police force myself.
Well, I think in that case, we're kind of splitting hairs over the meaning of words, aren't we?
Well, but no, because a sheriff's office is controlled by the people. The sheriff is an elected official, and then he decides through just much like in your system that you have the members of parliament elect the prime minister, but that's still the people elected the prime minister. So it's the same thing. Even if each individual on the police force wasn't elected by the comitatus and posse comitatus, then at least the sheriff who appointed these deputies, and I like a deputy, man. We have deputies all over. Some of them stop, man. I'll take them out Coca-Colas, say hi, talk shit to them, man. The deputies around here are second to none. City police, the police, we don't need police.
But can you run New York City that way?
Absolutely. Different boroughs would have different sheriff departments. Absolutely. They did it for a long time.
Well,
anyway,
I think
like
you can
said,
tell by the silence that I'm kind of I would think that it would need to be a police force if you have any kind of major metropolitan area.
But I do believe that you agree with me, because when you say police force, it's just ringing up a certain definition of the word police. Like
I think you're don't go THX on us there. But no, in all seriousness, yeah, I do agree with you. I do understand what you guys are both saying. I would interject that in some metropolitan areas, they have specialized police forces, not because they're police agents, but because they basically subcontract. Business owners subcontract out to these special police forces to help with response time. And these people that own these businesses, the patrol specialists basically is what they are, work with the actual law enforcement, because they are in a metropolitan area of such a huge huge area. You know how metropolitan areas are huge, and they all have their own little sections. So it's basically, it would be what you would consider the reverse. Well, what did the mobsters do when they tried to have you pay them for their protection? It's a reverse protection racket.
Extortion.
Yeah, it's a reverse extortion in the way that the businesses come together as a civil group saying, hey, we're business owners. we have been robbed here X amount of times. The police take X amount of minutes to get here, and they don't always have the authority or the capability of being here on time. Let's have a business of a patrol specialist deputized by the police in the city, where we can pay into it. That pays their salary
as long as they have a commissioner.
Exactly. Well, they do. They usually do.
Elected commissioner, because the commissioners.
They do.
The minute that
okay, but we've kind of drifted into the police.
Oh yeah,
argument.
I was going to talk to you, Britisher, about this guy on the scooter.
Because I mean, strictly speaking,
yes,
I brought it off. Yeah, strictly speaking, I brought it up in order to kind of draw a parallel, because I was kind of trying to show that if you have a society which has not been exposed to it, they would effectively reject it. Well, no, I mean, see, you know, in Afghanistan, if you would try and convince them of, you know, sort of the wild tribal areas of having a police force, I don't think they would warm too much to it.
No, you're right on that. I just think the want was because we trailed off.
Yeah, but in that regard, when it comes to healthcare, as Jeremy said, you know, in certain societies, which are in no way communist or whatever, there has just been kind of authority imposed in order to, not necessarily, as you implied, stop any particular corn plants from growing too high, but perhaps to stop certain corn plants growing too low, to basically assure a set minimum standard.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give an example that concerns me for a quick amount of time, so that I have a very clear example of what's happening to me. So I'm gonna switch on my camera for a second. Okay.
Because everybody I can bring in to be on my side is call down drunks, but you know I'm not
okay.
Three against one.
As you can see,
I don't know, zeros on my side, I think.
As you can see, I have some tape on the nose of my glasses. My glasses were made 3 years ago with a new alloy that was supposed to resist to very acidic sweat. Glasses makers in France glasses makers and the doctors who are specialized in eye problems, so ophthalmologists, they enjoy a special treatment and a special status within our healthcare system because they need a lot of equipment that is costing a fuck ton of money, and we don't want the taxpayers to have to fork that amount of money so that they can equip themselves. So basically, when you are choosing an healthcare insurance in France, you either have to choose good eyesight coverage or good dental coverage, because dentists are also in that very specific side, because insurances are forking the money that the taxpayers' money is not forking for the dentist and for the ophthalmologist. What happens to me is that I need new glasses, but metal frames are basically always ended up being munched out by my sweat. Problem is that in France, every frame that is a plastic frame, glasses makers do not make money on it. So when I went to the glasses maker and said, look, I need new glasses, and I am sorry, I know that you're not going to make a single dime on my ass. I know that you're not going to make any profit, but I need plastic frames. Look at those glasses. Look at what alloy is being used. It is the best technology yet, and yet my sweat is still munching out my metal frames in less than 3 years. I need plastic frames. I am sorry to be that asshole. I am sorry that plastic frames are completely reimbursed, that you don't make any benefit on it with how the system works in France. I know that it's basically...
So you're saying because of your health system, you're actually being forced to get glasses that don't work.
No, I'm going to have glasses that will work for me, but that will not benefit the glasses maker. He's not going to make any single penny on my ass.
That happens. So, you know, I'm trying to follow you on the idea. So because of France's healthcare system, they tried to force a pair of glasses on you.
They try to force, you know, the frame around the glasses.
Right.
If they're not metal, they're not making money. Glasses makers not making money if they're not made out of metal.
Huh.
If they're made of plastic, they are forcibly reimbursed. So glasses makers do not choose. They don't get to choose the models that are on which they don't make any money. They don't get to choose the model of frames on which they don't make any money.
I see.
So basically, when you are a guy like me who has a sweat that is basically eating out the metal, like I am, you need plastic frames, but therefore you are a customer that they hate because they don't make money off of you. Like they have no qualms, you know, like kids glasses being all plastic, all of the frames are plastic, not making money on the ass of kids. Glasses makers, they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know, they're kids, let's not be assholes. But when you're an adult and you want plastic frames, that's the moment that they're like, ah, come on, please, don't you want metal ones? And I'm like, good, look, dude, 3 years and they're already dead. 3 years and the nose is torn apart because of my sweat. I need plastic frames. I know you're not making money. I hate to be that asshole, but I need plastic frames. And I shouldn't have that. And in my personal eyes, I shouldn't have to have that conversation with my glass maker. My glasses maker, I shouldn't have to have that conversation. I think that he should be able to choose models on which he's not making money, and that he could be making money on plastic models.
As a Frenchman, you don't have to worry about your optical care. Is that correct? Does that come with being a French citizen?
Basically, it's when you're choosing an insurance to be covered, and if you don't have an insurance, there is a universal insurance that is provided by the states. So you either choose, you don't worry about reimbursed, you don't worry about having to fork for eyes, or you don't worry to fork for teeth. Like anything else than teeth and eyes is covered by the state. So the only thing that you have to worry is teeth or eyes. I am correctly covered with my eyes, but because I am correctly covered with my eyes, if I choose a plastic frame, then he's not making money on my ass. The glasses maker is not making money on my ass. At no point in the process.
It's more difficult for you to. I'm really trying to follow this.
My personal argument is this. In France, it works out great, to the exception of very few places that we've been saying to our politicians, this is fucked up, this should not happen, and our politicians, left and right, do not listen to this.
Couldn't that be better done with just the people like shunning the folks that aren't providing them with the proper optical insurance, or just by saying, listen, the ones of us that why would we need a politician? And that said, look, this came to mind because
this is the way the system is set up. Actually, that's what you don't understand, is that this is how politically the system is set up. When you choose an insurance, teeth or eyes, what is going to be reimbursed in terms of specialist? Teeth or eyes? So you choose teeth or you choose eyes. You can't choose both. No matter how rich you are, your insurance is only going to cover one of the two.
Well, that sounds great. I hope that the national health care comes here soon. But this was in my mind here because it wasn't too long ago that the Britisher and I were having a talk when the Bishop Airport thing went down in Flint, Britisher, when the guy, stabbed the cop in the neck there at the airport here close to me. And, we were talking and I was saying, well, they should release the names of folks right away. And I'm doing this to be gentle, to say, well, here is an example of why they shouldn't say if one of these gentlemen that did this, I say gentlemen loosely, one of these people that did this was, Tariq Nassim Hamed or Yosef Allah Mohammed or something, because it just happens that some people were running around in London and throwing acid in the face of people. They stole one scooter. Yeah, well, they stole the scooter, and then it's not clear to me, even from reading this article, if it was 5 different instances. In other words, there may have been a gang-style coordinated attack.
Can I interject here? Because I can see where you're going, but I really think you're going the wrong way. The thing is that we kind of connect acid attacks very often with kind of the Indian subcontinent, which of course would also include Pakistan. because of their kind of, their honor issues. We know that quite a few Indian women and Pakistani women and whatever get battery acid thrown in their face.
Yeah.
So it's an easy, it's an easy connection to make, to sort of think that this is related to something like that.
Well,
But
no,
the
I think we're
problem
more
is-
online this one time, Brett. Oh, well, maybe what's the problem?
But the problem is here that London has seen a spate of acid attacks where gangs or youths wanting to seem tough or whatever are effectively walking around with bottles with acid in it. And it has nothing to do with terrorism or in any way with that sort of subcontinental culture. So in this regard, it more than likely really hasn't got anything to do with anybody called Abdul or anything like that.
Well, that's why I'm glad that was the point. That's why that's why I'm trying to tell you that where I was saying before, release the names right away. Well, this is an instance where I'm glad they didn't release the names right away. In fact, I still don't see them because I don't think that it wouldn't matter if his name was Adam Jones, which sounds pretty English to me, or was Yosef Ahmed Ahmadinejad. It wouldn't matter at this point because I don't think this has anything to do with Islam or anything else, and it's hard for me to grasp it. But as I stand right now, even whenever I think of the Coulter, the law of Ann Coulter, and I think it might have been Zero that told me about that. It may not have been.
That wasn't me.
No, it was the finer print, I think.
Yes.
Even when I consider that, I mean, they shouldn't, at this time in history, especially, I don't think they should just release the name because it also it protects the Sam Joneses. You know what I mean? It really does, because at that point they're going to say he's a Christian extremist, right? If we just focus on the crime and think about what happened, at least for 48 hours, 72 hours, at least then we can focus on the crime and say, well, this is what happened. Who cares who did it?
I have to flip the script on that, because you do realize that in the article you sent me, it pinpoints that on June 21st and in April, 2 people who are adult males did these same things, and while there's no direct correlation, it is becoming an apparent behavior amongst people in general. And no matter who you do it to, because I noticed that one of the subsections was, did it to 2 Muslim women. It's like, okay, first, I don't care what their religious belief is. If you're throwing acid in anybody's face, you are basically committing a hate crime no matter who it is you're throwing it at. Because you're being you're a psychopath in the first place. And if you think it's funny, you need to be beaten. You are figuratively.
You don't believe in hate crimes. I mean,
towards another human being. Disfiguring a person. Disfiguring a person with acid is next to killing her. It's a form of assassination in a way. I mean, you're disfiguring a person's face. You're causing them mental trauma, your emotional trauma. You're going to scar them physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically. That is the definition of really just pure out hatred towards another person.
I understand. And we can go more in depth than that, because I know you don't believe in hate crimes, Zero.
I don't believe in the hate crime in regards to the political sense, but I believe if you are genuinely full of hate, you are committing a crime, and it is a crime of hate.
You know how I feel about hate crime and politically correct and social justice. I hate.
I'm not, Ogre. I'm not saying it's a political. I'm saying it's a crime of hate towards another human being. That is unto itself is
just a
hateful.
here, and we'll keep everybody going. You too, Zero. We're just going to bring the fire. He can't bring it down Nacho. It's easy. They're on fire. I know you like Zero Cool, but you should have went with the Human Torch.
Throwing acid in people's faces, no matter what it is, to me is not humorous. And these kids should have their names released, and they should be beaten within an inch of their lives, because that's what they deserve.
That struck a nerve before because let me read this from RPR, but then I got to ask you a question, Zero, because you just hit on a little nerve that it's hard for me too. So RPR says, Ogre, the scooter attackers, about them, the UK police have known about them for months and have done nothing. Thank you. Shakid Khan, whatever, you know, the dude there in London. So what I'm wondering is this some kind? Now I wonder. And Zero, while I'm wondering, when should they release people's name that are now allegedly, you know, have committed a crime where they have this kind of evidence? When should they do that? Instantly?
Immediately. Depending, I mean, okay, think about the severity of the crime.
Think
about the severity of the crime. If you get, in Iowa, if you are a minor and you get into an automobile incident, we're not going to release your name depending on the severity of it, because it's really between the police and the insurance companies. We have had situations to where minors have been caught drinking and driving and killed innocent civilians, and within 10 minutes of them being arrested, they're out in the open and they're ostracized, rightfully so, because they've chosen to act like morons and unfortunately took another person's life. Now, that's different than when you throw acid around. If you're going around throwing acid to think you're a badass, you have apparently disregarded all respect for law. And fuck you, Shahid Khan, by the way. Come to America, try that shit with me, and I'll knock your ass out, you little bitch. You basically disrespect the laws of the lands, no matter who you are, and you show contempt, and disrespect for your fellow man. Fuck those little brats. Release their names, let them be pariahs and ostracized, and beat them to within an inch of their life because they've hurt people and they've scarred people, and this ain't shit you can fix.
Well
Fuck
said.
those little
I would have
bastards.
said it different, but I do agree. So if this is getting to be an American fest, it's like the 1776 all over again. So there are two other people here. I mean, are we way off base with this idea, Britt? Because I did bring this up because I said it.
Hey, that's just my 2 cents. I've had what I had to say.
Yeah, that's good. That was more like $1.50, but that was wonderful too, mate. But look, I even did the thing, you know, the white power.
Oh shit, maggots! I hope you don't hear this. Do you hear this?
No.
I hear you just fine. Hearing nothing.
Okay, you hear me, but you don't hear the noise that's coming from out.
I just hear you.
Okay, thank God my noise gate is working. Sorry.
You're good.
We don't want to know what's going on in the background, do we?
It's 14th of July.
Yeah.
It is 14th of July. So
Bastille
in France,
Day.
yeah, it's Bastille Day.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's right. It is Bastille Day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Bastille Day, and the mayor of my city likes his fireworks show to quote unquote give him a little bit of a shake off.
Viva France!
Hey,
Yeah.
let him have it. We had our fireworks. Let him have his.
Oh,
Goddamn.
Britisher knows. I had my
yeah,
fireworks fucking here for 8 days, Britisher. On the 8th day, it wasn't as bad, but that was the last day. On the 9th day, and that goes it went from the 1st of July on to the 8th of July. And the 9th of July, like I said, there was some, but I was at that point accustomed to it. So 8 days, man, from sundown to sun.
There is only one thing one can say to all this. Allons enfants de la patrie, la jour de gloire est arrivé.
Yeah, the glory day
Close enough.
yeah. Actually, well pronounced.
Wait,
glory day. Glory day has happened. Yes, indeed. Seriously, it's making the walls of my. Now, basically, the national anthem said, "Come, kids of the country, come, kids of the nation. The day of glory has come." That's what means the first few lines of the national anthem in France. That's what it means.
It's actually a battle song, isn't it? It was actually written by a soldier.
Yeah.
Who wrote a song for them to kind of sing prior to battle.
Yeah.
And eventually it became so synonymous with France that they began to sing that as their national anthem.
Yeah, and actually the rhythm of the song is the rhythm at which they were getting on their knees, loading up their rifles, then lying on the floor and shooting it.
British, you speak a little French.
National anthem. The French national anthem is also one of those that basically quite a few activists want to change it because it's racist.
Oh,
because
come on. They can go suck my
I
dick.
bet they do.
It refers to un sang impur, doesn't it?
Yeah, it refers to the impure blood of the enemy. Yeah,
of the invaders. Yes.
Yeah,
well,
but you know, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't every opposing, if if I'm not saying France is this, I'm just saying in regards to any anybody,
yeah.
they say that shit about their enemies. They're like, oh fuck these guys, they're beneath us. Yeah, bite me. Don't change shit.
I thought it was funny. CNN
I can't see the French national anthem being changed anytime soon.
Oh no!
I just thought I would point out that the demand is there.
Well, on CNN, they I can't remember the announcer, the talking head, but they were playing the American anthem. You know, oh say can you see? They were playing that, and she was like, oh, and listen to this nice brass band playing the French national anthem. I was like, I don't know who should be more offended because Macron's standing there, you know, very regal.
At least she confused the American and the French anthem and didn't think that when they were doing Daft Punk, that then they were playing the French national anthem.
Hey, on a lighter note, for those of us that are music fans, Ogre, you know what today is also is the besides the French Revolution and France's yearly anniversary of their country, which is awesome. Also for us American heavy metal fans is the day that the first drummer of Megadeth, Gar Samuelson, passed away, who contributed to the Big Four of heavy metal by being on the Killing Is My Business and Peace Sells albums.
Yep,
and Finer Print told me, Finer Print told me about that. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. So I can't believe I doubly forgot this day because of Gar Samuelson, rest in peace, brother, Nation of France. I feel like a fucking idiot. Sorry.
Peace sells, but who's buying? I listened to Anthrax and Megadeth back in the day when my favorite bands were the Pet Shop Boys and Tears for Fears and that kind of thing. And I tell you, man, they had something, even though that pounding, driving riff. But
well, it was a jazz fusion mix that Chris Poland and Gar Samuelson brought to the band. But I don't want to derail the subject. Sorry, France. Sorry, Megadeth fans. I fucked up. I forgot Bastille Day. My bad.
When it comes to Bastille Day, there is always, it's always worth pointing out the immortal comedy that is Carry On, Don't Lose Your Head, in which the Carry On team did a film where, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Scarlet Pimpernel. In this case, it was the Black Fingernail, which clearly was a clear allusion where he goes over to France to rescue aristocrats from being beheaded by the French Republicans. And the names alone are just brilliant. You have got the chief guy who plays the kind of Robespierre character. He is Citizen Camembert.
Camembert.
And then I think there is Count Frou-Frou.
Oh, that's
and finally, of course, there is the Marquis de Pomfret.
I used to read about the Marquis de Sade.
Either die laughing or he has
to mute because they've got a massive. No, they had to mute. He had to mute Britisher because he's got a massive explosion of fireworks going outside his window. It is literally, according to what he said in the side chat, is shaking his windows. So it's just like complete reverberation abounds, and we probably would hear it no matter how good his mute device on his headphones
I hope he pulls it up because I mean, I'm telling you, Britt. And this is what I came down to, mate. My dog was, you seen her, man. She was so just over stuff from the sky blowing up that she was just collapsed. I hadn't slept right. I sleep at night. Some people are, you're a night owl, mate. That's why we actually mesh well, because did you ever go to bed before 3 o'clock in the morning? But I'm not. I mean, I'm in a bed. I go to bed with the roosters and get up with them. You know, I'm that kind of guy. But even though that threw my whole circadian rhythm off and almost ruined my life, hey, man, you know, it's something wonderful when we remember these kind of changes. Bastille Day, 1776. Remember the fucking whatever of November I can never remember. And when we remember all these things with the actual sound of cannonade, I gotta say that it's even though Britisher, I'm more along your lines, man. I know I seem like a loud, and I am. I'm a loud, garish American. I really am. But that kind of thing, no, I'm loud and garish while the chickens are up. And they go to bed. Oh man, the sticks of dynamite going off in the air at daggum 400 feet. It gets old after about 2 hours in the first night. But it's good to remember it that way, because you know what, man, nothing good, and this comes with health care. And I'm done with that, because we got to get on to this last thing, Britisher. I've got something it's something that is going to make you and I uncomfortable.
Here we go. Here we
the
go.
Last one, but it's going to make you and I a little uncomfortable. But Jeremy's gay and the bisexual, which I'm questioning bisexual.
There's a difference between being straight out frou-frou boy and bisexual. Come on now.
I'm not buying bisexual. I'm with Gavin McGinnis. I don't believe it, man. It's just while you're young. When you get older, you grow out of it. You either be gay or you won't. I'm not sure, but he's bisexual now because he's young. But that aside, so you and I don't know, man. I feel a little weird, but I wrote it down. You've seen the last thing. Right now, there is an assault on society. This is where I'm going with it, and I know that the other folks and whoever's in the chat wanted to hear a different line. But to me, it's some people want us to believe that the powers that be in Islam right now accept gay marriage any more than the Mormons do, or the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, you want to be talking about the Muslim marriage, right? Huh?
Oh, well, those guys are so full of shit.
Well, and here we go, and I'll cut you boys loose. Give me about another 45 seconds, because here's the problem. They're trying to pretend that they've done this, and now Islam is fine with it. And I don't think that was 45 seconds, but that's what I want. That's my point, that we can talk about how it's cool and it's fine, and we don't give a shit, because they should be able to do whatever they want. You can call it civil union or marriage. If they want to go through all the shit that hetero people do, then let them do it. Cis or whatever they want to call it this week. Whatever
Jeremy, yeah, sorry, Ogre. Jeremy, after Ogre's done, go first, because I'm going to.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. So you see where I'm at. I just don't like that they're trying to portray this as they take gay folk and throw them the fuck off buildings. And it's not because they're radical. The rest of them, 88% and upwards, hold their arms like this and go, yep, throw them the fuck off. And that includes the ones in Indonesia. That includes the ones everywhere. And so, there we go. I think this is a wedge, because who really gives a fuck? Yes, they should get married.
Okay. To the couple in which only one of the two is a Muslim person who is gay, who is also gay, and who still believes in Allah despite him being Muslim. Like, at this point, I'm sorry, dude, you don't get to call yourself Muslim. It's either one or the other. Until the entirety of Islam people, of Islam believers, get around together to basically say that this particular part of the Quran does not apply anymore. This is their ideology, and that's what they think. You've been brought in a Muslim background, in a Muslim cultural background, and you're still attached to your cultural identity. Fine, I get that. But you're not Muslim. I'm sorry. Islam is disagreeing with you. You can't have both. You have one or the other. Your union is a civil union, and it's good. It's good that you can marry anybody you want, and that love is love no matter what in your country. It's good that love is love no matter what, and that your country is supporting you. But this is not a Muslim marriage. This is a civil union, and to most of Muslim people, even your family, to your own admissal, you're not a good Muslim. I'm sorry, you can't have both. You have to choose. I'm sorry, maybe the Britisher disagrees with me on this, but I'm sorry, no, you can't have both.
Yeah, rip it up.
Well, and we'll give the Britisher the final word on this if he even wants to weigh in, because I think that we're probably on the same page. I brought this up because it's current news. But go ahead, Zero. Here, the problem that I have is it's bullshit, because in the end, they take your daughter and throw her off a fucking building. They take Jeremy and throw him off a building.
You're talking about an ideology of assholes that says, if you don't believe what we believe, we're going to behead you because our God says we can, and you're going to suffer in a jet-fired fuel of hell. And they throw people that are basically that are gay that whether they, you know, and Jeremy, don't take this personally, my daughter doesn't, whether they believe that they were born that way or they become that way or they choose whatever, irrelevant.
Completely irrelevant.
This is an ideology. Thank you. This is an ideology that would see you burn in hell, and yet it's like, oh, these two got married over here. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, bullshit. That's what, you know what? I can't add to that. This is bullshit. This is hypocrisy at its finest in regards to the Nation of Islam. I'm waiting for these motherfuckers to hunt these two down and castrate them, behead them. They're not going to do it. And if they do, I'll fucking go live and eat my goddamn college graduation hat. Fuck these guys. Rip it up, Jeremy. You've already spoken for me. Fuck them all. End of story.
All right.
I'm sorry, but like I said, until the group that is Muslim believers do agree with you, you're not Muslim in their eyes.
Exactly. And you know what automatically happens? They're condemned to hell. They ain't getting their so-called 72 version. They're done.
Yeah.
The second they sign that paper and well, this is just a civil union bullshit, they're done. And that is like, that's like,
it's the same thing. Like I need to precise for anybody. This is like, oh, this is Islamophobia. This is the same thing for the singer of Pentatonics who was gay and he says that he's Christian. No, I'm sorry, you can't have both.
Rip it up. That's right. You can't have both. You can't fucking have your cake and eat it too, people. Rip it up.
You can't have both. Either you're gay and therefore sorry, you're not Christian, or you're Christian and you're not gay. Like for Christian people for Christian people in America, for most of Christian people, for 80% of Christian people in America, either you're Christian or you're gay. I'm sorry, singer of Pentatonics. I love you to death. I love what you're doing to death. But on this one, you're full of shit, man.
No, you can't just be a Mason. You have to believe what the Masons believe, and that's religion. It's not really religious, it's secular. You can't just be a member of a club. And man, I can't agree more with what you just said. You can't sit there at this point and say you're trying to meld stuff. No, at the time where we stand and forever, if they go by their book at all, Christians don't believe that rapists or homosexuals or people that eat shellfish, for those that don't know how to read, are real true Christians. And you know what? The group is so small, it's ridiculous, man. The real Christians in the world.
They can never have me because I like crab and lobster, so fuck those guys.
You're right.
Yeah.
So in other words, but look, if they're going to say that, you know, it's an abomination for your daughter or for Jeremy to be whatever and to do things with the same sex, whatever. We know. I'm saying whatever because it's uncomfortable.
Well, the Christian Judeo Bible also has a verse in it that says, "Love the sinner and not the sin." End of fucking story.
Yeah, but nobody wants to read that part.
No, nobody does. Well, it's too fucking bad.
Nobody wants to read the last part there, Zero, and that's the part that I stand on. I read the whole thing, and I believe in the whole thing, and I choose to follow some things.
And you know what it breaks down to, Ogre, is personal accountability. That's the end of the story. You can be
love the sinner and not the sin. That's
right. And you can be the most straight-laced person in America, and you could have great credit, no criminal background. You can pass the DOD standards for a job in security checks and do all this good stuff. And everybody's gonna try to find something on you, and they ain't got nothing. And the 1 second you get a red light ticket, you're burning in hell. That's exactly what Islam perpetuates itself as in so many words. They want to hate the sinner and ignore the sin, or more so, they want to blame the sin on the sinner. So however you want to slice and dice it, rant concluded. It's all yours.
No, that's wonderful. And listen, folks, what's going to happen is we got 24 minutes left. So Britisher sent me this thing, and we're going to see if he wants to talk about that. But before we move on, Britt, do you have, I mean, if you looked into this story at all, this is now being used to, among other things, say that, look, this guy's Islamic, and as Jeremy pointed out, no, the one is Islamic, the other one isn't. I mean, they pointed out a lot of good things. I'm not going to relitigate what they've already said. I'm not going to rehash it. But it's being used as a way to say this dogma of Islam is okay. And I don't care what you got to say. If you got a final bow on that, wrap it up.
Well, to start off, are any people here familiar with the comedy series Little Britain? There is a reason why I ask this.
I've
yeah, the
heard
nurse when they're
of
nursing
it.
the
I
mother-
have
can
not
think of
seen much of it.
The one where the old adult is nursing the adult kid. That
So
rings
if
in my
you're,
head. But yes,
if you're
I've seen it.
familiar
It's
with
great.
Little Britain, then you will be familiar with the gay chap who is, as he always, in a martyrdom-style voice, announces, the only gay in the village. And of course, it kind of plays to a certain... The reason it is funny, the reason we understand it, is because within the gay community, there is a certain amount of, how shall we say, sort of self-appointed martyrdom. We are the sufferers. Everybody is against us.
In English-speaking countries, quite so, yes.
And when I see something like this, I see somebody setting themselves up to be the ultimate martyr.
Putting a target on themselves.
Precisely. I mean,
and writing "kick me."
And
right
immediately, no sooner, because I've been looking at this while you've been talking, immediately, no sooner has any complaint then been made online or anything against you, they have immediately come out and said, oh, we have received abuse. And the only thing I hear when I hear that is, I am the only gay in the village. Because, I'm sorry, but what actually was the point of the exercise, if not to garner that abuse?
I'm going to be almost facetious here, okay?
Go ahead.
So people call me tits. I'm going to be mostly facetious, almost completely facetious, but Anita Sarkeesian showed them the way. Like, look, it makes money. It's damn profitable to be a victim.
Damn.
You're not entirely wrong on that.
But I think Dave Rubin was the one who coined the expression, the victimhood Olympiad. And I think this is where we are looking at one of the contenders for one of the medals.
Yeah, and you know what else we need to bring Jimmy Dorn into the fold here, man. He needs to break away like Rubens did. Because I know he spit in Alex Jones' face for all of you out here that were in the Twitter ding-dong I was in the other day. But good gracious, bullshit man. That's his name, right? Bullshit man, I think is his name. He was right. We need to call... I'll get way off on a tangent. Jimmy Dorn and Jimmy Dorn are the only good thing that have ever happened from the Young Turks. And Jimmy Dorn, man, he's a great guy. He's fucking hilarious. Plus, he's a Jew. Just like Rubens also. We're the best people on earth. We are. We don't try. It just works out that way. That's why it looks like we control banking in Hollywood and shit. It's just because the cream rises to the top.
But anyway, like
I think what you can hear here is there's just a grinding of teeth of this blatant supremacy that we've supremacist talk that we've been given. Yeah. Whilst at the same time we're wondering how to respond to that without immediately walking into the "you're an anti-Semite" trap.
Yeah, I'm a Semitic supremacist, absolutely, sir. And you can't. Because we are the smallest, most downtrodden race of human beings on Earth, oppressed and all that, man. But anyway, let's move on.
This sounded like the ultimate SJW announcement, doesn't it?
This is just ogre. This is just ogre being facetious and giving you the can't touch this.
No, we need some like actual news theme music, and then the Britisher comes on and says, "This is an SJW warning for all you normies out there," or some shit, you know, a fake SJW by the Britisher newscast or some shit.
Oh, so breaking. Says Colombia cocoa crop rose 52% in 2016 to highest level on record.
Yeah, I thought this was a great way before we wrapped it up to end on this high note.
I don't know what the fuck I've read. So Britisher.
If you remember, we were always told that a lot of the cocaine production had to do with the FARC and with the Civil War and everything going on in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's coming to an end.
No, it has to do with people liking cocaine.
Now that's coming to an end, and lo and behold, they're actually producing 50% more of the stuff.
Well, yeah, because it's good.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, anybody, but isn't that where we get our chocolate from?
No, that's the
Colombia? No, no.
No, coca.
No.
I think it's
Different
something
plant.
else.
No,
They're
cocoa.
related. They're related, sir. But the coca plant, they're talking about the leaves, and no, they're talking about the coca plant. You're talking about the coca bean. That comes
I'm thinking
from
of
a
the,
tree.
okay, yeah.
That's a
okay,
tree
my
nut.
bad.
But that
Yeah,
has caffeine in it, which is
Yeah, see, that's what I'm thinking about. Soda pop.
very
Yeah.
close, very close in nature, and they're on the same genus. I think it might be phylum, but they're very close in nature. But the reason, Britisher, that this is going down was never for civil war. Cocaine's good. It's fun. It's a great party drug. It should not be illegal.
Oh, you remember you're in a stream with a guy that says if anybody wants to overdose on drugs, feel free to do so because that that leaves the remnants of society. You know what? That's Darwinism at its finest. If people want to go do drugs and die off, fine. That's more resources and shit for the rest of us. I don't give a shit. But I am a nihilistic bastard, so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, yes, but please, if we could do it so that people, take this stuff and die off as you propose, could we do it so that it is actually the handsome, good-looking, rich guys who do that, just to give the rest of us a chance?
Well, they do it.
Oh,
left
absolutely.
And right.
Why not?
They do it left and right. But here's the thing: and he wasn't proposing people do it. But when it comes to these, the more decadent and the more the finer of drugs like heroin, opiates, heroin, I said already, cocaine, methamphetamine, they're like a wedding cake. And if you're a fool and you got to just chow down all the wedding cake that you can possibly, get your hands on, you shouldn't be around that. And if you were around these things, you shouldn't be around. And if somebody overdoses on these, that to me, that is no call for whether or not it should be legal or not.
I'm not going to touch on the legal illegal topic again, but you know what kind of surprises me is that relating back to Coca-Cola soda, and I'm not going on a tangent here. They used to put that in there for a reason, and
it's still
cocaine. No, it's not in America, and cocaine
in
itself.
America.
And I'm referring to America. I'm not talking about anywhere else. In regards to cocaine itself, doctors used to be able to prescribe very small amounts as a painkiller. And I don't see why they can't, they regulate everything else. There's no reason they couldn't regulate the shit out of this either. But it's a veritable, reasonable alternative to morphine and morphine abuse and other types of abuse. And honestly, in regards to that, there's no reason we can't prescribe specific altered types of cocaine especially for cancer patients and people who are dying. I mean, come on. I'm not trying to go into an ethics debate. I'm just saying we used to do it, and then big lobbyists had their way with certain things, much like pot and the cigarette industry. There's no reason we couldn't do it now because of our regulations. But that may be up for another debate.
I will say the following, just to launch back the discussion a little bit. Doctors will always tell you the following: the difference between a medication and a poison is the dosage you give to people for anything. Even water can be a poison. You can die out of water poisoning.
I've had water poisoning because I was losing weight and I was massively dehydrated, and I really did about 3.5 gallons of water in one day, and I almost killed myself.
Yeah.
So that was just being a dumbass, working out too much.
Yeah, so anything can be a poison. Anything can kill you. So, like the thing that we should forbid this particular drug because there are people dying out of it. There are people dying out of absinthe, and there are people dying out of Geneva. Just like, Britisher is having a problem somewhere. Britisher, you're with us?
Keep going.
Keep going. But yeah, I just like I don't understand. Like, for example, you look at what's going on. For example, in Portugal, they decided to tolerate absolutely everything and have shooting rooms with doctors surrounding the people that are addicted to offer them, to offer them rehab and so on and so forth. And ironically, despite Portugal being all crazy of let's tolerate everything, they're the country that has the least amount of problems. The people that are doing the illegal drugs, they're doing them because they're forbidden. It's the forbidden thing that basically attracts them. I'm sorry, but I'm going to repeat it. The moment America has been the biggest hole of drunks and has been the biggest hole of alcoholics was during the times where alcohol was forbidden.
Yeah, that's basic fact. Very much so.
You look at the statistics. You just need to look at the statistics. During history, when was the highest amount of consumption of alcohol during the history of
Prohibition?
The US?
There were more speakeasies in Manhattan during Prohibition than there are bars and pubs right now.
Yeah. It's during Prohibition. Everybody was a drunk during Prohibition because it was forbidden.
Yeah, it was fun. It's funner when it's prohibited. And that's why I said, I mean, I'm getting a lot of jokes from Mad Dodge and whatnot. Yeah, I'd call them ogerisms. He's talking about my quotes. And, well, here's the thing. I say shocking things like cocaine is good because why not? If the kids see Needle Park and see all the the junkies there shooting up heroin, there's a less chance that when they have the opportunity to do that drug, they're going to say, yeah, sign me up. And so to me, putting the prohibiting things never works. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Did this tie into that article, Britisher? Is this the direction you wanted it to go in?
I had no immediate exact plan for it. I just saw this on Twitter and I thought this might be of interest.
I thought you were saying that
it's not often that you suddenly see that a well-known Class A drug suddenly goes up by 50% in production.
So you were saying that we should all just do a line together and have fun.
But I'm not so much up on the news of what's happening in Colombia. So you said that basically because of civil war, like they raised the production because the civil war just ended or something like that.
Well, no, there has been an almost endless civil war in Colombia.
Okay.
And finally, there seemed to have been some kind of, unknotting of the endless spiral of warfare in Colombia. Now,
so they decided to finally come together.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, for years and years, we had been told that, oh, well, you see, the only reason that there was all this cocaine production in Colombia was, of course, mainly because of the war, because the state wasn't particularly powerful, and that in certain areas, the state wasn't in control at all, and so on. Well, now, strictly speaking, we have peace, and production has gone up by 50%. So that really kind of knocks that theory on the head somewhat, doesn't it?
Not only does it knock that particular theory on the head, but Coca-Cola has decided to go back on, putting extract of coca leaves. Like it has never gone away in France, for example. Our Coca-Cola recipe.
Coca-Cola with cocaine in it in France.
With coca leaves, yeah, with extract of coca leaves, because cocaine is just a method of refining the leaf.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's an extract. That's not exactly cocaine. Yeah. Back when Coca-Cola was first invented in America, it did have actual cocaine as opposed to extract. That's like the difference between putting in a vanilla bean ground up and vanilla extract.
Can I just say that, speaking as an Englishman here, hearing this about France, it explains a lot.
But yeah,
what? That either Americans or Frenchmen are drugged out of their minds.
No, the French.
Well, MCJK's out there, being a pundit for Prohibition, but I vehemently disagree. I did want to hear what you thought about it, Zero. Should drugs be legal or illegal? All drugs.
I don't think that's a capability. I think it's unrealistic to have an all or nothing scenario because most narcotics, and I would definitely say that marijuana does not fall into this group because it was always a plant before anything else, and big tobacco stuck their nose where it didn't belong. Most of the drugs with that like meth and amphetamines and all of those come from chemicals being mixed up and are artificial and were designed to basically get you high in enjoyment. But the X factor was that people didn't know at the time how fast they can become addicting and kill you. And now cocaine and pot and all that kind of stuff cultures have been using that for thousands upon years. Never had a problem. So there's that. But it can't be an all or none scenario because America, I'm not saying the rest of the world, America doesn't work that way. We either try to completely deny or we completely go overboard and we sink the damn ship like the Titanic hitting an iceberg.
Well, and I got to say, Mrs. Ogre mentioned that opium, and yes, if you mix chemicals together, you get heroin, or you get what was the one before heroin?
Well, there's
morphine.
crack, speed, LSD.
You get morphine.
Cross tops, black booties, morphine. Black booties, morphine's the name, but they're all artificial.
But we've had but if I take opium, just sap from the poppy right now, if I take a ball of it like this, it would be no different than if I shot up with heroin and its effects. So if we could even come to that, then how about this? If someone here decides to do something to ourselves that doesn't hurt anybody else, how about everybody fuck off?
You do. I'm going to only counterbalance that by saying you do know that there are people who are in native tribes that still chew on coca leaves and they're perfectly fine.
Oh, hell yeah. What's that guy's name?
That's my point.
The first native guy that was elected as the prime minister of Peru, I believe. Oh, I'm trying to think of his name right now. He's a big Indian-looking guy. But it's not just the natives. That is something used there. I mean, you see a lot of the people that are in Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, even with a big chaw of that because it's more powerful. It's not quite like cocaine, but when you get a big, so yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, see, and that if they were to sell that,
that shouldn't be illegal at all.
Well, no, it shouldn't. It'd be like chew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
That's all there is to it. And the biggest thing is it's not refined into the white powder and snorted or shooted or added with anything else. It is its pure leaf or original form that people have been chewing on for thousands upon thousand years with no problems.
And I know something in here that perhaps Mrs. Ogre, who I believe now is also a veteran YouTuber, might back me up on, and that is that heroin is actually a brand name.
Yeah, Bear.
Bayer was the one who first sold heroin into space.
So yes, just as they own aspirin, they also owned heroin.
Yes.
It was basically a brand of theirs.
Yep.
And you could actually buy kind of heroin packs that you could send to your loved one in the trenches in the First World War.
Yes, along with a syringe and needle.
Yes. So no, it's just one of those things that I think few people know, that heroin is actually a brand name.
Yes, it's a trade name. That's what they would call it, a trade name. Like Vicodin or Valium. Valium. Any drug name it's a trade name. It's
so
just
yes,
so
by
that
the way,
people
I
recognize what it is.
I just thought I would let everybody in on the fact that yes, that Mrs. Ogre was on Natchi's live stream talking about healthcare provision.
As a novice YouTuber.
Yeah, it's just, and when it comes to like you said, like when it comes to heroin, it was a drug that was actually created by pharmaceutical companies. Like it's the same thing with LSD actually. LSD was also an attempt at creating a new medication originally.
Yeah, but it ultimately comes down to where did it go wrong?
Yeah.
And I'm not being facetious. It's very much so. When my grandfather was alive, he would say, yeah, people were smoking pot right in front of the cops. Nobody gave a shit. And it wasn't until the lobbyists for big tobacco that they made it technically, quote unquote, illegal. So where along the way did something like Coca-Cola, cocaine and Coca-Cola, and everything else that was once used prior to the nuclear family of the 1950s, post-World War II, that was being used within reasons and bounds and, respectively, not, snort up the nose like in the 80s and all that shit, that where did it all go wrong? Well, people wanted to make money off certain things, and by way of doing that, you make other things illegal and thus causing the problems that we have today. And unfortunately, our American society doesn't understand how to go back to that point pre the atomic nuclear family. We don't understand how to do that. We don't have that capacity. And if we do, we're not showing it.
Our government too much control. That's
Exactly.
One of the problems with it is not only pharmaceutical companies and whatever. I'm speaking of the British experience here. It is also politicians. Politicians who like to, that type of politician who likes to appear to be a martinet, someone who wishes to be the kind of strong man who says, turn to me in times of crime and whatever, I will take care of it. I will clamp down on people. Because this particular happened over here in Britain when a man called Michael Howard was Home Secretary. So that basically put him in charge of law and order. Because over here, marijuana production was largely in the hands of old hippies. So basically the police really in every town knew who was the chap who was actually growing marijuana and distributing it. But they just let him be because, frankly, who is he hurting? Then along came Michael Howard and basically insisted, oh, well, if you know who these people are, I want them arrested, I want them prosecuted, and I want them locked up. He didn't listen to any advice.
Now, he was pretty much the McCarthy of that whole situation.
Of course, what happened was then that all these perfectly peaceful hippies were rounded up and locked up. As far as Michael Howard was concerned, that was the end of that. But of course, that is never the end of that, because all you have done is you have disrupted the supply chain, but you haven't made demand go away.
Yep.
So all that happened was that you opened up an opportunity in the market for whoever could take it. Who was best organized and able to take it? It was organized crime rackets of very violent criminals who now are growing marijuana around the country in sort of various growing houses, which are tended to by illegal immigrants who are working pretty much as slaves. They're basically trafficked people who have no choice but to do it. And basically, so we went from the old hippie to that, all thanks to somebody wanting to appear tough in the Daily Mail. And yeah, that man later became the prime ministerial candidate of the Conservative Party because this kind of thing always plays well with those kind of people. So he was effectively promoted for having kind of engineered a catastrophe.
Why the Daily Mail, though? You picked that one out.
Oh, the Daily Mail is pretty much the right-wing tabloid over here.
Oh, man.
Which will
No, but seriously, the Daily Mail is making a joke of itself, even for right-wingers in Great Britain. Ogre. Like, even right-winger are looking at the Daily Mail and is like, come on, this is trash.
This is the reason I'm a nationalist and not a conservative right-winger.
Is the Daily Mail. Very
No, but I was just explaining to you, like he chose the Daily Mail not out of being nasty to the conservative.
I know.
Just basically because the Daily Mail is a little bit trashy.
I'm not alt-right, but I have to say that the British and I have had alt-right people on this show, haven't we?
You seem to be sort of fading into the distance just before you finished a sentence, so I didn't quite hear that.
I'm trying to fool with the microphone and get it working. I've got to figure out how to hook two microphones up so when Mrs. Ogre has a moment, she can join us and we can speak.
You know what you ought to do, Ogre, is get a multiple USB port, put it in your computer, and then that way you can get some headphones, and you can have two headphones in your USB port, no problem. But whatever.
Not the headphones, it's the microphones, and I've got
headphones with the microphones in them. That way you don't need a big old microphone. Or just have her scoot up instead of sitting on the couch, or push you off the chair and let her take over the show.
Yeah, well, I was like, that's coming, Mrs. Ogre. I said, next thing I know, somebody's gonna say, well, what are you doing here? Where's your old lady? So fuck off. Hey, it already happened.
Called it.
No, but we'll get it. We'll figure that part out. This is so much fun, though.
Going back to the coca leaves for a little while, just for a second. I don't have a translated in English.
He just did a line. He's gonna go back to the coca leaves.
Oh, sorry.
It's all good. Was it a good line?
Huh?
It's all good. Was it a good line?
Okay. Okay, I'm getting my ass roasted here.
Say what you were gonna say.
Yeah, I find it funny that coca leaf is such a taboo subject because, for example, researchers in dentistry have actually found out that chewing on coca leaves is actually getting some gums infections easily away from you. Like, it's preventing some gum infections. Like, people that are chewing on coca leaves are not affected by that particular type of gum infections. So basically, dentists were like, could we make coca leaves less taboo all over again, please? That would be cool.
Yeah, put it in toothpaste.
Plus, pull the tooth right out, they wouldn't notice.
True.
Especially if you don't tell them that, hey, by the way, inside that toothpaste, there's coca leaves extract inside it. But yeah, I found it funny. Like, basically, those guys unknowingly by chewing on coca leaves, unknowingly are getting some gum infections the fuck away from them. They didn't even knew it, and it was protecting their teeth. Just chewing on the fucking thing.
Well, I guess the ultimate irony would be if the person who was given the coca leaf medication for his teeth would be the kind of Minister of the Interior of France or something like that.
Yeah, that would be effectively that would be ironical indeed.
Especially if he looked a little bit like Louis de Finesse.
But it's been a lot of fun. In fact, I'm glad that Mrs. Ogre joined us. But this is the end, people. So I'm going to do what I usually do, and we talked about a few different things. I don't think anybody needs a recap. I guess just in case they do, we were talking about Shia LaBeouf and all that insanity. Forget about the MK Ultra and whatnot. It was just my 2 cents on that.
Well, honestly, or before you sign out, I gotta be sincere about Shia. He's fucking up hardcore, and as with any human, he makes mistakes, and I honestly hope he pulls it together. Whether you like his acting or not, come on, Shia, buddy, get it together.
Yeah.
Or yourself.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to run down everything and then give you two a chance to give your final word on whatever you want, and then go to the British, and I'll like give my little final word and get the hell out of here. So we got 10 minutes to do this. So we talked about Shia LaBeouf. We talked about the blue vest debacle there with the Planet of the Apes.
You seem to be very quiet, Ogre.
I think we did skip the there you go. I think we did skip the healthcare bill, and then
we touched on it. I think it's just a lot of people already touched on it before, so it was kind of
Yeah, and then the last two were the men on the scooter throwing the acid and how that might affect releasing people's names or not, and then the gay people getting married there. One was Islam. So if you two folks, Zero and Jeremy, have like some final 2 cents, throw them in. I'm going to throw it to the Britisher and tell y'all what I think and get the hell out of here.
All right, well, let me say this real quick since I'm faster than you on this, Jeremy. Shia, pull it together. Get over the fucking movie. Healthcare, the fuck already. The guys, fucking release their names, and Islam bullshit. I'm calling it hypocrites. End of story. End of rant.
Britisher, final thoughts?
Okay, if you want me to go first. Well, I think generally, particularly when it comes to the Islam thing, I'm not really sure whether we can kind of say that this has any bearing on Islam whatsoever. I think it's more a bearing on, how do we say, a certain element of gay culture that just seems to be determined to be the victim. And I mean, they seem to be headed toward victimhood hard. One hopes it won't come to anything bad, but frankly, in that particular case, I think,
have your doubts.
You really have your doubts that that is going to end well. Other than that, right off the cuff, I don't really have anything else to add. I think we've pretty much covered everything, haven't we?
Yeah. Personally, I will just give my final thoughts on the Muslim marriage thing. Dude, I'm sorry, but Islam is a group of people, and if they say that this is mutually exclusive, until they change their minds, you can't change anything about it. And you're no lesser of a good person. Like, you being gay, you're not a lesser person because you do not belong to Islam anymore. You're actually, I'm thinking that you're better off. So let it go. That's my 2 cents on it. That's my 2 cents on it. Is that you're better off basically turning your back on those people. They turn their back on you, just return the favor. That's my 2 cents on this one. And for the healthcare system, American insurances stop being a bunch of greedy fucks, because that's the only reason why healthcare is a train wreck in America. That's my 2 cents on this. End of the rant.
Yep.
Yeah, that seemed to be numerically out of order, but Britisher was at the, I don't think that was the end all be all that you wanted to wrap up the show with today on your part. And if it wasn't, thanks so much for being here, boys. I'm going to kick it to the Britisher to give his last final thoughts. And I don't care what it's about, Brett. Mine has nothing to do with what we talked about, so I don't really care what you got to say.
To be honest, given that I just did before, I'm a bit out of sync, so I think we'll just leave it there with me.
Yeah, I thought so. When it was just numerically out for my. You can't always get what you want. Wasn't that a Rolling Stone that said that?
Yes, that was the very song by the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want.
Well, it's that. I will tie in what I was going to say to the what we talked about. You know, if before we decide that we're going to judge somebody harshly, and I played the videos at the beginning of the show. A lot of people here maybe didn't see it now, but watch the Shia LaBeouf thing where he was arrested in Savannah, Georgia. He went off the rails on the crazy train. There's no doubt about it. What I'm going to say is this. All of us do crazy things from time to time. Nobody's not only perfect, but nobody can sit there and say that they haven't done something that's nuts. Mrs. Ogre's known me for 23 years. She's known I've thrown a temper tantrum or two, or 50, a lot, probably me more than your average person. So I can feel for not only Shia, but for, I keep thinking about Boogie, and this is not supposed to open up another conversation. I'm going to do that Monday because I don't want to talk about Boogie every day, but he was on my mind today. I actually wanted to bring him up. But, this isn't a Boogie fan site. He's just in my mind right now. Because if we're going to do something good, if drugs need to be illegal, if we need to shame Shia into the ground because he's being so decadent and he talks about, gracious, we've seen it, $1 million lawyers and all this stuff, goes off on a nut and really basically makes a fool of himself. We can't make laws. There's no law for that. It comes down in the end to each one of us have to ask ourselves, are we doing what's right for ourselves? That's what I always say. That if you're doing that, if you're honestly doing that, which I don't do 90% of the time, then you're doing what's right for everybody around you. Everyone that's in your vicinity is better off. And I don't know, Shia, man, buck up, little soldier. I'm not going to put 2 cents on everything else. I'm just going to say, look, folks, be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because constant viewer, Mrs. Ogre and Lily, at a time you think not, your friends, your family member, your loved ones, and your prize rooster's eyeball will depart from you. Later.